I'm really excited about this session, and not because one should be nice when people are still coming. We just had a quick chat with amazing entrepreneurs who are doing real things and are having real change. I would like to invite everyone to the stage, and then we'll kick off. So we have Alina Marenko, Director of the Museum in the Dark. We have Kaveh Bulambo, founder of Talent Diverse and Black in Tech. And we have Thea Somerset-Meren. I'm sorry, I'm Polish, usually I can pronounce anything. Founder and CEO of Divata. Round of applause, come on, people. Woo! Let's have some energy into this. And it's my great pleasure to have Boniface, Head of Unit of SME Policy, who will frame us into this session.
Good. May I suggest to you come forward so we are a little bit more close to the speakers and we make it a little bit more friendly.
Yes.
Oh. Good, thank you very much. It's a good way also to wake up. I don't know if you have your coffee or not, but it's certainly also a good way to interact on this. This is usually, I think I've had the opportunity to what is it, facilitate? I'm the moderator or facilitator? What is it?
I don't, now, yes.
The moderator.
Both.
I host. I usually like this very much, this session, because it's, I mean, particularly for me, it's the opportunity to be a little bit more closer to the reality. I usually become younger after listening to these great experiences. It's always young generations of people with their ideas, with their motivations, with their stress, with their illusions and their challenges. And they are, one thing that I like particularly from them is that they don't have, how you say that in English? They express the way they feel it, and you see and receive the language clearly from them. So I think it's also a good way for us in Brussels to be out of the Brussels bubble, we usually say. So, no? We are also usually criticized to be bureaucrats. We are less than you think. Huh? But I think this is certainly an opportunity for us to hear the experiences in the real world, your challenges, and I said before, this is probably the session I like the most because of that, and I am honest about that. So this is very much about SMEs shaping Europe's future. You've seen that's the title, and you are the future. So also another reason why you are the most important people today in this SME Assembly, right? Today it's something very much connected, I think, in my view, to what the professor yesterday, I don't know if you had the occasion, yesterday the lecturer, the professor, he was talking very much about diversity, the European values, and how this is also an engine of the type of growth that we want to build up in Europe. So I think the session of today, it's also about telling us how you see this diversity, how you think out of the box, what are the challenges that you have, and how do you, push these European values so that you are successful, because your success will be the success of the European model. I mean, there are other models. We saw yesterday the Chinese model, the American model. I still believe we do have, and we have to be proud of the European models. And there are times where things going better, and there are times where things go a little bit less better. And we are probably in this situation where things are perhaps less better than in previous times. But this is also the moment to raise the voice and say, well, we are doing this. These are the challenges that we have, and I want you to be very clear about that. And these are what we would expect from the European Commission, not only the European Commission. I think you also have the member states, and you have some representatives from member states, local associations here. So I think this is what I will expect, and I'll give the floor now to Kasia, which is an excellent moderator, facilitator. I'm lost here. to sort of drive us through the wonderful experiences that each of you have and want to share with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for this really good framing.
I will stay here and will make some conclusions afterwards.
That is perfect because, you know, being a moderator and a host where one needs to give space to you and to our audience is difficult. I would like to ask for we call it listening arcs. We have like these questions to you when you listen to them, to listen with intention to find out what does success mean today? You know, like again, based on yesterday's session, success can be different things to different people. And what is success here in this case? Do we have the questions? I think we have the questions in the slides. And then the second part of this question is how do we inclusive entrepreneurship, about inclusive entrepreneurship. How does inclusive entrepreneurship lead to a thriving and entrepreneurial Europe? So the model that we have discussed yesterday, is this our model? Is the triple bottom line? Do you know triple bottom line? Where you care about financial outcome, of course, but you also care about everything around you. Is this our European model? And how can we learn from them? And how do we achieve it? Without further ado, I'm going to first turn to you, Alina. You are director of a museum in the dark. If you are ever, you were going to say where you operate, but in Brussels there's also a restaurant in the dark. It's a life-changing experience. I've done it. I think everybody should do it. So what do you do, and how do you see your contribution here, and also what you want to hear from others?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here today. Can I share my slides now?
Yes. Do we have? Yes, there is the.
So let me. What should I press?
Press the green and the big green. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes. Now you see the main screen. So my name is Alina Marnenko. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the only museum in the dark in Ukraine. Today I want to share the story of our project. So let's start from the beginning. Yeah, it's me, very happy and completely clueless about what lay ahead. It all started in 2016 when my friends and I found this incredible idea of excursions in the dark. We were very excited and we believed this idea needed to exist in Ukraine, and we were sure it would work. We aimed to create the whole world in the space that resemble usual locations, like apartments, streets, or nature, all in total darkness, accompanied by visually impaired guides, with the mission of destroying stereotype about people with disabilities through such experience. So we started to work after our day jobs. We did a lot of ourselves, and it was much harder than we expected. The preparation itself took much longer, and it was far from the end. But then, finally, in 2017, we launched the first museum in the dark in Ukraine. It really felt like a success. But actually, during the testing phase, we started to get first reviews, and people didn't believe in this idea. They said it can't be a sustainable business, that nobody will really visit our excursions, and nobody wants to know how visually impaired people live. But we didn't give up because we believed in this idea, so we continued. And in 2018, we had our first 5,000 visitors. We launched a few new formats, and actually we were getting really exciting, great reviews from our visitors. So in 2019, everything went so well that we decided to expand, and we publicly announced that we would launch the second museum in Ukraine, in Lviv. It felt like a really huge milestone for us. But then, as you remember, 2020, the COVID hit. So we had to close our museum, And it wasn't clear how we can keep our project, because other museums went online, but for us it wasn't possible. All our idea relies on the darkness, on the sensory immersive experiences, but we wanted to save our project, so we got creative. We launched city tours with our guides. We launched online formats for children. So somehow we made it till August and reopened. So in 2021, we again felt confident, and we once again announced the following year we will open the second museum in Ukraine in Lviv. But then in 2022, the war has started. I know here there are also Ukrainians in this room. We hear this sound every day, really every day in our country. It was a very difficult period of time. Of course, we closed the museum. We didn't think about it. It felt irrelevant to have any projects. We started to volunteer. We tried to keep our team safe. And it felt like an end of our project at all. But in a while, people started to be interested in our excursions again. So they tried to contact us, and I decided to try one last time and to relocate our museum to Lviv, where it was safer. So what was planned as a launch of a second museum started as relocation to save our project. So I found a space, and additional funding, started the construction, and it felt really surreal to be doing that during the war. But we were almost ready to open our museum, and then missile strikes and total darkness hit the country. So suddenly nobody cared about the museum in the dark. It sounded like a joke to launch a museum in the dark where darkness was everywhere. So of course we had to cancel the launch again, but Ukrainians were able to adapt again. So in March 2023, we launched our museum in Lviv, and even more, we were able to keep our Kyiv museum as well. So here we are now, 2024, end of the year. We have 2 museums, 12 visually impaired guides, and over 20 people in our team overall. We have 70,000 visitors who destroyed their stereotypes about visually impaired people, and we opened our own charitable organization which helps soldiers and civilians who lost their sight. And there are a lot of such people during this war who are losing their sight and have different injuries. And it feels like a success. But what is really success? For me, it's not a permanent state. It comes and goes like happiness. What truly matters is a journey, a process of creating, adapting, growing, and we have to be really resilient during this journey. In our museum, we really believe in our idea, we believe in our mission, and we see the results, we see the social impact we are creating. So despite everything, we are continuing. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, it's trivial to say it's inspiring. What stays with me, especially when I hear the sound of, I think it's intergenerational trauma. I'm Polish, so when I hear the sound, it's like, it's an interesting discovery, but like, I was thinking then about resilience, how, you know, being Polish, living in the West now, it's a different level of resilience in a way, and so I would like to really acknowledge that, you know, because we always say entrepreneurs have to be resilient, but what, like the resilience that you display, especially in Ukraine, is amazing. And I really liked what you said about the destroying stereotypes. Because, you know, we talk about diversity and like then we think about something positive, but maybe it's like with entrepreneurs breaking systems. Maybe we have to break the system. I don't know. You know, just these are my thoughts. I want to really provoke you for your thoughts. We will move to Kava, but when we go through the sort of first round, I really want I really want you to intervene, and we will really, or if you're holding something now, like in this session, just raise your hand, and we will make it a conversation, really conversation between everybody who's here. Kaveh, over to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I am the slide today, and I'm so honored to be here this afternoon. My name is Kaveh Bulambor, and I'm the founder of Talent Diverse and Black in Tech Berlin. So Black in Tech is a social impact organization, and our mission is to increase the diversity and representation of Black and young African professionals in the tech industry. Why do we do this? If you've looked at statistics, it's only about 5 to 3% of representation in the tech industry, and for Black women, it's only 1.7%. Professionals in the tech space. And so it was really important for me, after having worked in the industry for 10 years, to pay special attention to this data and see how I can address it. And so what we do specifically as an organization is to create mentorship programs, community space for networking, support for one another, and particularly we're based in Berlin, Germany, so most of our community members are based in Germany, and we've become a source of hope and support for all the international talent moving to Germany to work in the tech industry. We also organize big conference events where we share tips for career growth, how to succeed in Europe, what does that look like for an international talent that has just moved over from the African continent. At the same time, we work with companies as well. So they do come to us and ask if we can support them with their diversity and inclusion strategies, also particularly addressing the underrepresentation of Black talent and also other underrepresented groups in the industry. So we organize, again, training for their management or their team leads, because at the end of the day, we can only do so much, but companies themselves have to hold themselves accountable and continue the work, and we support them from the outside. And so why did I add Talent Diverse? Talent Diverse is now the fully for-profit organization, and it also focuses on women, particularly, as I don't know if I've mentioned earlier, but also women in Germany only make up 17% of the tech workforce. So in a nutshell, I am motivated to create these enterprises to address this underrepresentation of women and people of color in tech, because it's a great need. And also that we are building technologies that are saving the world, but the people building these technologies are not representative or reflecting the world that we live in. So it's really important for me that we have these voices also represented on the building side of technology. At the same time as well, for me as a female founder, some of the struggles I've had, you already again know that women only have about 2% of VC capital in general in the EU, and so there are myriads of challenges, but at the same time, what keeps motivating me is this passion that I do believe that we all have a role to play. The tech industry is where most people can actually earn a lot more. And so if I can have even 1 or 2 women represented on the table on this side, that keeps me motivated, and we can make a change with 1, 2, 3 individuals on the other side of the table. When we started 5 years ago, the biggest analogy that was there was that there aren't actually enough women for us to hire, and there aren't actually enough people of color to hire. And so when we launched the organizations, people came, the women came, and today we sit with at least 1,500 members on both sides of the organizations. And we realized that the challenge is not that the people are not there or the talent is not there. The challenge is really that we are not synchronized, either from the organizational perspective or the talent perspective. And so we need to find ways to build a bridge that will continue to bring us together as talent, as companies, as public institutions, and the beneficiaries that we want to reach, because From my experience, they are there, we are there, and we need to figure out how to find one another so we can move our society ahead. And if you'd ask me what is my vision for my work particularly, which is being implemented work here in Europe, is to have a very inclusive and diverse workforce, which is, if we're looking, for example, from the United States, what makes America great? It's their international excellent talent pool, and it all doesn't come from the US. And so if we can find our own ways to attract great international talent that can contribute to the development of the EU, which we already have, and just figure out how to build that up and shape that up to boost our economies, I think we will be on the right path. And so I think I'm on the path for success. As Alina said, it's something that comes and go. But I think the fact that we just have 1,000 plus members is already a success for me. The fact that I'm sitting here is already a success, because there is recognition that we need to talk about diversity and inclusion. That's already one part to success, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else can be done. When you sit on the business side, you always hope that there will be policies and structures in place to help you succeed. And I think that's where I'm sitting at this moment as a female founder. I would love to see policies and structures dedicated specifically to addressing the challenges that female founders are facing, so that we can move the needle from 2% to 5%, 10%, or even more. Because unless we have these dedicated programs, I'm not really sure we're going to see the needle move. And we have the power, we have the money. I think I was talking to Katja earlier that diversity and inclusion is not about the lack of money. What I've seen most of the time is the lack of intentions, really. Strategically deciding that we're going to address the challenge ahead of us, and we're going to put the resources that we have to make it happen. And so I hope in this room that you will go with intentions to actively go and address diversity and inclusion in your sphere. And we're here to support you. If you need our expertise, we're here to make that happen. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Can I just, because I was going to raise it, but you kind of, you already spoke it in a way. So I was looking for data, because it's between 2 to 10% indeed of VC capital going to women. Yet, according to Boston Consulting Group, where there are women, they generate 78% more revenue per dollar invested, or euro invested. So, you know, it's like, I work in climate, it's like with climate change, we have all the evidence, but still somehow it doesn't necessarily move. Have you, you three, but also people in the room, have you experienced, I don't know, pitching and not, and things not happening? And then, but let's also, so let's have a story, and let's then go beyond. So what do we do? And I'm sure it was discussed to death, but I believe there's this one story that can change the world. So I saw the reaction must have happened. Thea.
Should I comment on that directly?
Please, yeah.
I think I've been pitched to over 250 investors over the past years. I've been rejected notoriously. And I think the biggest challenge as a female founder is always, one, not taking it personal, because VCs or any investor will also say, we also look to you to succeed in this, even though it's the business. But from a founder perspective, the company is so attached to your identity, so it's very hard to separate from that. But all the evidence is there that we outperform in our ability, in our knowledge, in our capability to execute. But the questions we are asked are more to disarming and not focused on how we're going to create growth. And that is my biggest frustration. I always like to tip it then and say okay, let's I will challenge your perspective and take it to a growth perspective in whatever questions you ask me. But it's a fundamental issue, and it's been my biggest challenge over the past 7 years of my life as an entrepreneur.
Thank you. Is anyone here who will wish to comment or add something at this stage? How do we move the needle? Come on. Please. I don't know if we have the mic ready. Because I changed the flow a bit, sorry.
So hello, my name is Burçak İnal, European Banking Federation, and I have indeed been working on diversity, equity, and inclusion in banking over the last 5-6 years. Your comment reminded me of several female entrepreneurs who had talked to us about in various workshops, including organized by the EIB, about pitches where they had been treated differently. And of course, as we know, if the people who are going to invest in your company are not diverse, so if the investor community is not diverse in whatever direction, then of course they're going to be, by definition, less open to new ideas and certainly to newcomers. So one of the things that needs to happen is to have, it's like a chicken and an egg, catch-22. You do need to change the investor community so that they will look at entrepreneurs differently. The evidence is there, but first the investor community has to change, and of course the investor community has to do with the banking. But one of the studies that I wanted to also add, a couple of years ago, the IMF had done a study of 2 million companies looking at the financial performance. Some of you may have seen it. And they actually came up with the percentage point difference in the better financial performance of companies that had gender equality. And they explain, the levers that explain this. One of the things is that in the knowledge-intensive sectors and sectors in which the employee share includes a higher rate of women, in particular, having more women in the management increases the financial performance. That means, for instance, the banking sector definitely would benefit more in terms of its financial performance, or you could also think about asset management companies, and because they have more women as employees, and because they're knowledge-intensive sectors. And yet, when you look at how they perform in comparison with other sectors in the economy, they're just about at the same rate as others, if you measure by women on boards, for instance. So knowledge-intensive sectors in particular have a lot to gain from more diversity. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Anyone else would like to comment? Okay.
There is.
Good, amazing.
Hi, I'm from Denmark. I'm on the board of female entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in STEM. And I have a question for you. It's a great effort you're doing, and it's very important to have diversity. We're talking about that a lot, also to make more sustainable and efficient companies. But are you working with the unions or the worker associations? Because as far as if you were in Denmark, I would say we would use you to help us get more diversity into different workplaces, because it's really a sought-after commodity. So are you working with other branches like that?
Thank you for the question. I'm open for business. But since we were founded in Germany, Berlin, we're concentrated in that market, but we're open to trade across the EU. At this moment, we're working with local bodies, so like the Chamber of Commerce in Berlin and other regions, but we haven't looked outside of the EU and other countries, so we're open. Thank you.
Thank you. Thea, let's hear your story, and then really let's try to get some energy into the room, and with you it's not difficult.
Yes, so I think I will share my personal story on how I got here and how I also started my first company. I am Norwegian. My name is Thea Somerset Myron. And I started at heart as an anthropologist, studying across 7 different countries from the age of 18, specializing in different challenges that youth face as a part of growing up in developing economies. And that led me to my master's in the UK, because I saw how the current models that was in place was in reality taking away any sense of empowerment that these people were having. And I wanted to share a story about a late evening in 2014. My dad called me, and at the time he was battling cancer, and he was trying to get a loan in the bank as my parents had just gotten a divorce. And he shared to me how he had to disclose deeply personal health information to the bank, and how he was denied both access to a loan and life insurance because of it. And that was really my light bulb moment, because I connected how not just banks, but all kind of companies consistently access and keep information about you, that this is not secure, and it leaves you vulnerable, like my dad, in a position because all information we leave online stays there and companies have access to it. And when you talk about identity, as a Norwegian, I know that my biggest privilege in life has been my Norwegian passport. I have traveled across far and wide, even for the past week, and I'm not faced with the same questions as people in my first company are. And my first company, Dawala, focused on building an inclusive pathway to identity, where basically education and skill credentials could be a way for them to get online. So we basically wanted to tackle the fact that there was no current system for people to have online presence, and that we could build a digital tool for them to issue digital credentials to students and workers. So the challenge was that there's complete lack of trust and limit to access of verified data, and it's a very outdated and cumbersome process to issue any kind of credentials to a person, and that there's huge data management liability for any companies, organizations, school, education, you name it, in terms of keeping this information. But it's essential to create control of information to the individual themselves, because this also creates a lot of friction when you're trying to get a visa, get a job, get access to a loan. You always need to go through these processes. So we started doing in-depth research pilots and working with local organizations for over 5 years across Africa. I lived in Uganda for the past 6 years. And our access to work was basically, our journey was just making sure that we don't come and drop down into one kind of solution, but we ask, what do you need? What is the core solution that can what is the problem you're facing? And we did that in refugee camps, we did that with NGOs, universities, you name it. That led to our first proof of concept in 2018, where we issued the first blockchain-backed certificates in Uganda. Basically what that created was immutability. So whenever a student would come with their certificate of education, nobody could trust that this information is secure. And we then built a complete platform. So that's, in short, to make it very simple, it's a platform for any university, professional association, or employer to issue a digital certificate or credential to you that you have access to inside a wallet. Now, that wallet is based on something we call self-sovereign identity. You own it, not us as a company, not the institution, not the government. So this information you can share anywhere, and that's very important for you because it reduces any friction. Now, when anybody wants to verify this, they could seamlessly do so by scanning a QR code, or they can add a link, however, and this makes sure that there is complete and seamless access to this information across the ecosystem, whether it's a bank, whether it's an education institution, you name it. So our proven impact for over 80 customers across 10 African countries is that we've taken a process from over 200 admin hours, usually a process from 6 to 9 months minimum, to issue a certificate or digital identity to a person, down to 2 to 5 minutes. And the verification process, anyone you want to verify, from 3 to 6 months down to 3 to 6 seconds. That means that somebody lives in the far east of Uganda, doesn't need to travel to the city to pick up their certificates, even affording the price to do so. It also means that any European citizens could sit here and share a credential to an employer next door, even if they have to. It's about accessibility. So we were the first company to pioneer access to this in 2018. We were also pioneering wallet infrastructure across the continent, and we proved what we call full interoperability. That means sharing data in the same language across any public-private institution. This is essential if we're going to basically make more seamless processes through the bureaucracy, which I know we all don't like. And one thing that I'm incredibly proud of is that this has been organic partner and customer growth because we work with local organizations. That means that we've been inclusive from the first, and we come with the humility, and that they have given us trust because we also move with who they trust. It's not we, us, and that's very essential when you're building access to identity. We've issued wallet and credentials to over 60,000 people and to small and medium-sized businesses, because this is not a problem when you're a person. It's also a challenge if you're an entrepreneur and you need to share information about your company. And I've employed 16 people from 7 different emerging markets. That has been a very different challenge because these people don't have the social security backups as an employer. That has created that I had to go to great lengths sometimes to ensure they're okay when they're having babies, when they're sick or whatever is happening. And that's the economic cost also when you employ, but it was been essential. And I've also seen that the people we've hired has now become thought leaders in their local countries. So I've created, basically my journey was saying, I will not be needed, they will take over. And this is something that they want to drive forward themselves. Now the 3 main challenges, which I think is essential. Like I've pitched to over 200 investors. That's not a one-time rejection. It continues over the 7 years of my first company. Because there's always a move of the goalpost, a bit more traction, while you see other funders flying by, not needing anything, with a $200 million valuation. So it's very essential that you create de-risk funds for specifically impact companies that focus on this, because it takes longer to go to market. You need patient entrepreneurs that has the knowledge in the space and that has the ethical compass to do this correct, beyond proof of concept, because we call it the valley of death. We don't want to be there. And there's great companies dying in that valley. Let's lift them up. Then a very specific challenge to being a European company, Norwegian entity, is that the NACE code that's currently set for my company is disrupting my access to continuous grant funding from different countries. That basically means that if I have one company, I want to start a second company now across Europe, I have to kill my first company to be able to get more funding. That's not what it should look like. I will be a software entrepreneur for life, most likely. You want me to build continuous companies in this space and not have to kill an excellent company just because of it and because there's such a challenge with capital. I've raised 1.5 million with my first company, but we have to be very gritty around it. So please create policies that's more flexible for accounting, for hiring, for tax, for funding realities. When we talk about impacting inclusivity, I believe everything starts with you. That's how you show up in every single day when you meet people, and that you basically confront your own biases and understanding your privilege and understanding that most likely you will know nothing about this person. And that's what I believe is essential, that you have great founders that actually can speak the same language and create these cultural bridges, which is necessary, because this is, like she's shared, just in Europe, it's a $1.3 trillion lost opportunity to not hire in terms of work migration. So just face yourself and show up with authenticity in every conversation that you have and with the work and policy that you do. And that brings me to what I do, and that is building for people first. It's an anthropological view to building digital identity to ensure access for everyone. That means your grandma, that means people with disabilities, that's people that are refugees, and making sure that we don't exclude people just because they're put in specific systematic injustice or challenges that they can't control. And that is our job. That leads me to my new company that I'm just starting now. So basically, it focuses on the same problem and the fact that currently we are processing data in centralized databases, in government and public organizations, and it's a huge liability for these businesses, specifically with the storm of AI and cyber threats escalating. We cannot keep information the way we need today. And what's great, and was kind of like my birthday present, was that the EU put into a law a new regulation around identity. It's called UDI, which will mandate you to get basically access to your own information inside a wallet, and that all companies need to now confirm and accept it for authentication. That means that when you log in here into the conference hall, you should just have this wallet and you can chip it, and they can check information about you, confirm it, but not keep it. And that's essential for you as a digital citizen. What's important about it is that now non-compliant businesses will be fined up to 5 million euros, or 1% of the worldwide sales, and there's 19 months of an adaptation period that's left before this regulation will hit. So I want you to continue to, with knowledge sharing and build funding opportunities and drive pilot opportunities for companies such as mine that are working in this space, because it will be a fantastic opportunity to actually get access to your own digital rights. So Confirm is, in short, an identity compliance platform built with customers and people at heart for Europe. I'm bringing on my team from my latest, from the Walla into Confirm. We're serial entrepreneurs and industry experts in our field. We've done this before, and we're going to do it again. And this is how we also want to build a bridge between the opportunity of the African and the European continent with talent and business. So if you want to know more, I welcome you to reach out. I would love to talk with you. And I want to make sure that compliance now moving forward is not just regulation, but it's basically a strategic advantage to every business and for you, because it's important that you have a choice. So I want to help secure the digital you.
Thank you. This was like 3 TED Talks. This is like beyond my depth to try to comment. Would you like to react? I would like you to react either from what you were thinking or are thinking now, and also like, what is success and how do we get this diversity there? Because we're missing out. I mean, I'm sure you feel it too.
I have a question to all 3 of you. That was the second question. What would you define as your success? What is it?
I think I can start. When I was thinking about this question, I had 2 elements. So one is the individual side. And for me, success, what am I bringing to the table? Do I have the drive to run a business or to solve the particular challenge that I call myself to? And if I can do that well, I have succeeded. Then there is the second part, which is the infrastructure of the environment within which I'm operating as a founder. Does this environment allow me to succeed? I can have all the drive that I want, all the passion that I want, but if the infrastructure, the environment does not support me as a business owner, then I can only go that far. And some founders or entrepreneurs actually just quit because the environment is not working for them. And so I think we need these 2 elements. Our drive as entrepreneurs is always going to go above and beyond the challenges that we face, but at some point the environment has to be sustainable for us and opening up opportunities so we can succeed.
Yeah, Alina?
Yeah, I can continue. So success is a great question. Actually, recently I got a question from my friend about failures, and I was asked to to tell a story about some failures in the history of museum. It was difficult to find such a story because it depends on your perspective, and what in the moment could look like a failure will be an experience later. And it's similar to success. But I agree that it's different in personal perspective and perspective of my business. Personally, of course, for me it's important to do what I believe in and have ability to see results of my impact. So that's also not one moment in my life. It's just a long journey where you have to be able to do it. But for the museum itself, the success, of course, the utopic success, it's a moment in our country where we don't need a museum anymore, where we don't have stereotypes. That's very far from reality. And if we talk about our mission, I would say it's just a basic level what we do, because we work with the stereotypes about visually impaired people, but I believe that we have much more huge power and influence on people, because we make them think about how they perceive other people, and it's not only about visually impaired people, first of all. So that's the same as about inclusion. It's not only about people with disabilities, it's about everyone in society, and inclusion is important for everyone. And second, we work with a lot of problems. We work with employment problems for people with disability, rehabilitation, and other problems. But what's great here, that we work with people. So, for example, when some people come to our museum and we influence their attitude, I know that then they will go to their companies and they will make changes there. They can increase, reduce discrimination, increase the, employment of people with disabilities, and increase the accessibility of their products. So I believe that this path through influence on people's mind is very effective, because that's how we can incrementally increase our influence and impact. So success here is, of course, is increasing of our impact, and we have very huge goals, because we started with excursions, but now we already built a big system for solving this problem, and we plan to continue. Thanks.
Success as an impact, loving it.
Yeah.
Thea.
I believe, for me personally, I would say is that I'm no longer needed. This problem that I have dedicated myself to, first in the Wallace, the first country that I can see, like Irene, the woman that wanted to take over my position, to drive the company forward and take it on, and that would be amazing. My second company, just making sure the problem is solved. And I don't need to worry about my dad or my nieces, data everywhere, and that this is no longer a fundamental challenge, and that I can see that doesn't risk or create hindrance for the opportunities that's present. I would say for a business. And for the business, I would say that we continue to see amazing women, such as the women next to me. And I have a conversation with them in 5 years, and they tell me the growth of the amazing journey that they've been to, not the anxiety or the pain or the continuous rejection that we just have to battle through because we do it anyhow. It's kind of like in our core as a woman, I would say. I believe success for us is that we start understanding each other truly, like speaking a common language across policy and public, public and private corporations, that we don't create this polarization between the industries, but that we truly understand each other's needs, and in that way we can create great impact.
Amazing. So, my little summary here And after that, I will ask you, Bonnie, to come and summarize a bit, and then we will see the graphic recording. Everybody talks about unicorns. We talked about unicorns in Schumpeter. We introduced, or there is also this category, it's not unicorns, because when you touch them, they disappear. It's zebras. Zebras are real, and they have stripes, and these are companies that live for impact. So I see quite a few really amazing zebras here, and I hand over to Bonifacio. What is your take of this session?
Fantastic. First of all, I think it's an honor to have you here, and I was amazed by the way you have a clear vision of what you want to do in life. I think that's chapeau, well done. The way you speak, the way you perform in public, it's certainly an element of success, at least the way I perceive. And also, I think the good things that you are doing for beyond your own remit. I think you have a personal story behind. You also want to change things. It's not only about growth. And I think that's an element of success, at least from my perspective, which is very, very positive. Thank you for that. I will say a few things, but you know, from my side, a great applause for what you are doing. Then I think, indeed, I think one of the elements that was put forward, I think by Kasia, is the resilience, very clear, perseverance. I mean, your story, it's just simply amazing, sad, but with elements of hope, which I think it's a very, very, very positive. Sometimes in a blind period, you know, to have people like you taking people by the hand and helping to discover new worlds is certainly a masterpiece and a hope for new generations. You have all, I think, identified market gaps or opportunities there where nobody else saw it. I mean, for me, it was not evident when you were saying about each of the different stories. I was, as a traditional white man, I didn't see those opportunities. So, well done. We need to think out of the box. I was head of unit for innovation, and certainly I think this is also the future for growth. You have also, I think, shared with us that diversity is an economic advantage. I think that's a very important thing that I wanted to mention. I think you also mentioned the fact that regulation, it's become an opportunity. Yeah. So sometimes we hear in this type of environment that regulation is a burden. Well, you've seen the opportunity, and you have created a new company. And you have seen success from different perspectives. But you've been here, that's an element of success. But for me, the main proof of success is certainly that you are contributing to the challenges of society in a larger manner that what traditionally white men are used to it. So I'm making a bit of a joke there, but certainly well done, congratulations, and thank you very much, not only for coming here, but also for taking the initiative to change things and to make this world a much better world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie. That's amazing. And from our amazing entrepreneur, Sabine, can we see the graphic recording? I thought that we will keep it for the end because then we can take pictures with it. It deserves, acknowledgement. We'll add zebras there. We'll revisit it in a couple of years, and we'll invite you as the builders of the new model in Europe, because you know what's the motto of Europe? Maybe we forget sometimes. It's united in diversity. So if this is our model, then let's just build on it. Okay, thank you very much again. One more round of applause, and in the meantime, Angela will frame us into the next steps.
Thank you so much. Thank you for our entrepreneurs, for their inspirational stories, and to all our speakers for rich and thought-provoking sessions at the SME Assembly. Don't leave quite yet, as up next in the Hodik room, there are the European Small and Mid-Cap Awards, and on level 3, our last Meet the Expert of the day on the Strategic Technologies for Europe platform. And tonight at 6:45, we will have the European Enterprise Promotion Awards drinks reception, followed by the highly anticipated ceremony at 7:30, rewarding those who promote entrepreneurship and small businesses at the national, regional, and local level. That will take place here in the plenary room, so do come back. I will see you tomorrow all back here for the opening of day 2, but until that point, have a wonderful evening. Nagyon jó szórakozást mindenkinek. Goodbye and thank you for your attention.